Councilor Martin.
Here.
Councilor Broderick.
Here.
Councilor Dakota.
Here.
Councilor Murphy.
Here.
4 present.
We're conducting this meeting in response to a motion filed a few weeks ago by Councilor Broderick requesting an update on various activities and the status of things in the Hamilton Canal project. So that's why we're here. I thank folks from Trinity, Hank and Abby for coming up. And why don't we start with an introduction from the manager, and then we'll open it up after the presentation to questions from the members of the subcommittee and other members of the council. The mayor is here, and Councilor Rita Mercier is here as well, and I expect others may come in.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you indicated, this is a follow-up to the motion made by Councilor Broderick, approved by the City Council several weeks ago, and it's always been our intent to try to have these meetings on a regular basis to keep the council apprised of what's happening with clearly the most important project that we have taking place in the city at this time. I'm joined here with Adam Bakey, the Assistant City Manager of Planning and Development, and James Erickson, our Urban Renewal Project Manager. Thank you. And they've been doing all the bulk of the staff work here on this particular project. Adam and James will do a review of the public improvements that are taking place out there, provide the City Council with an update on the Judicial Center project that's moving forward. And of course, as you indicated, Abby Goldenfarb and Hank Keating are here from Trinity Financial to give you an update on their part of the project, which clearly is the major and private investment that's happening in the area. So I will turn it over now to Abby or Hank to lead off.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for having us up here. We're always happy to come up to Lowell and to see you guys. First, I wanted to give, our plan is to give an update on the Appleton Mills, and then give an update on the Freudenberg building, and then talk about the next parcels in line for development. So first, the Appleton Mills, as you know, began construction in October of 2009. Many of you were instrumental in getting that project approved and growing, so thank you for that. As you've seen over the past 12 to 14 months, this was the most challenging historic rehabilitation project. It's actually the most challenging one that Trinity has ever engaged in. It's actually the first one where we purchased historic tax credit insurance, because there were some points where we literally had 3 walls standing and nothing holding them up, and we needed to make sure our investors were protected. This was a $64 million rehabilitation. It represents a $43 million private equity investment by MetLife, which is the largest investment it has entertained in the country. So that says a lot about Lowell and the project, and I think the goals of the master plan. We are expected to complete the building this spring. We are aiming for a certificate of occupancy April 1st, and are planning to move residents in beginning April 22nd. Per our agreement with MetLife, we are obligated to have the building filled up by the end of December. And given the response to the building, we are on track to do so. We had an initial lottery that took place in January. We had over 165 applicants. 127 of those were approved certified artists. We established an artist selection board and had an entire process by which we'd bring artists in from across the state and across New England to meet with this artist selection board and to be interviewed and be certified as artists. On the board sat a representative from Trinity, a representative from our property management company, and a local Lowell artist. So we feel really confident about the response that the building has had. We've also made some improvements in the building to make it more attractive to artists. We've included in the basement level an artist workshop space. There's of course the atrium gallery that we'll use for open studios in the building. And we invite you all to come. We'd like to do a special tour for the city councilors once we get the certificate of occupancy. Wynn Residential, however, is running tours every Wednesday afternoon. So tomorrow around 3 o'clock, if you want to meet at the trailer, you can do a construction hard hat tour. but we definitely will extend the invitation to city councilors for a special tour once we get the site in a good position. We are aiming for a major ribbon cutting event this June, and so we are excited about the building, and as you drive by it every day, it keeps getting better and better, and it definitely has improved the entrance into the city of Lowell. So that is the Appleton Mills. Do you have any questions on?
Members of the subcommittee have questions about that? How many units again?
130 units. Great. So the next, our next focus is to complete phase 1, and what used to be the most attractive building on the site, the Freudenberg building, is now the least attractive building on the site. So we, as its neighbor, want to do something about that. Last summer, we began to market the 54,000 square feet of office space in the 110 Canal building, and have had some interest in the building, but not significant enough interest where we felt like we were in the right position to market it. We have been using a brokerage firm that's familiar with the 495 area, and they have suggested to us that it would really be great if we could do the core and shell improvements on the building, and that would be more attractive to a tenant. So we have committed as a company to authorize construction, our architect, Icon Architecture, who is also the architect on the Appleton Mills building, to begin construction documents on that building. We expect those to be done by April 4th, and then we are going to have our contractor, CWC Builders, price it. We are also working with an equity investor and lender on a complicated financing strategy involving state and federal historic tax credits and new markets tax credits in order to commence construction on the building this spring. So really, as a neighbor to the building, we feel like it would be an asset to the city and the neighborhood in order to get that building improved so that when tenants come and look at it, they're standing in a building where they can envision themselves occupying, where then they could, we'd have an allowance for tenant improvements so that they could then come in and fit the building up appropriately and move in to occupy the space within 90 days. So that is our plan for 110 Canal. Again, we're hoping for an announcement of a construction start this summer.
So in that one, are you're still trying to get the financing in place to be able to do that core and shell work?
Yes, we're working on that. We actually had a great conversation this morning with a potential equity investor and feel that we are in the best position that we've been in the past couple of years to get that going.
So, and you mentioned 54,000 feet of office. Is that the whole building?
That's the whole building.
Okay. Other questions, Councilor Dakota?
Thank you. Is your expectation to subdivide that 54,000 square feet?
We could. I mean, ideally, in an ideal world, the simplest thing would be to have one tenant, but we could do it as much as probably 2 tenants per floor would be the desired maximum.
And in your research, what type of industry would be interested and would do well in this location, this type of location?
We think a biotechnology company or a small startup might be a good fit with this, someone playing off of the strengths of UMass Lowell. There has been some interest in the building, but we think that one of the emerging technology industries would be a good fit for the building.
Other questions from members of the subcommittee or council? Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have a broker working on this. Are they working with the university in trying to?
Our broker has, we've had a broker. They have not been working in partnership with the university, but I know they've talked about this space being a great fit for a university use or school use. So that's something we've encouraged them to reach out to. Really, at this point in time, their main recommendation is that this building, it takes a lot of vision, and when you have someone walk in there, it doesn't show that well. And so while they have been working on it, we've been really pursuing getting the financing together to build it.
Now that it looks like it may happen, it might make sense. I don't know if the city is, the subcommittee, I think Councilman Dons is the chair, is maybe to try and re-engage with UMass to see what efforts we can partner up and help out maybe. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
I was just going to state that we we do have a good working relationship. Teresa Parks, our economic development director, Teresa Park, has a very good relationship with the university, with their incubator-oriented businesses. So we can certainly do that and take it up with the partnership subcommittee as well.
Okay.
Great. So Hank is going to give an update on the phase subsequent to 110 Canal, which are parcels 8 and 9.
Okay. I'm going to turn to the rendering we have here of 110 Canal. And if you look just beyond it, you're seeing parcel 9, which obviously doesn't exist today. We have started the design work on parcels 8 and 9, and we envision a very contemporary facade to complement the facades that we've created on the Appleton. The Appleton, you may recall in some of our presentations, the Appleton facade on the north side, a lot of it is new because there was no wall fabric left at all. So we sort of moved into a contemporary vocabulary within that courtyard space, and we are complementing that in our proposals with a very contemporary facade on the south side of parcels 8 and 9. And we've worked with the Lowell Historic Commission informally on these buildings so that we understand where we're heading. And this is the remnant wall, which we've committed to maintaining and we'll be working on this spring as part of our Phase 1 Appleton work. We're actually also beginning serious design work on this, what we refer to as a signature bridge, because the signature bridge abutment has to fall right between parcels 8 and 9. So we've determined that to get this site ready for 8 and 9 to go forward, we really have to make sure we have the details of understanding of how we're putting the foundation under that bridge. And the concept we have here where the two buildings, 8 and 9, sit back from the remnant wall by roughly 10 feet works very nicely in that it creates patios outside of residential units that have these openings through to the canal. So these are really going to be wonderful units with a rare opportunity for housing in Lowell to be right on the canal. We had some detailed discussions with the Lowell Historic Board regarding how we should transition the design concept on the north side so that it starts to be a little bit more reference to historic massing and materials. So we have a more contemporary facade on the south facing our new courtyard, and then we transition back to more historic materials of brick and massing, and there was a strong interest in maintaining the sense of the industrial canyon running down here. So that's the way we're working with the Lowell Historic Board on this. So we're really positioning these two sites so that we can advance them as quickly as possible, I would say after the 110 Canal, but it doesn't even have to be after. We can, just see how it rolls out. But we're definitely moving it forward to keep the momentum of the overall site moving forward. Yeah.
Thank you. On your first image there, you had a trolley. Where are we at with the trolley development?
I'm going to let Abby speak to the trolley because it's been a while for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's the trolley.
If I could speak. I'll try to speak to that, and I'm sure Abby and Adam will jump in and help me out. It is still very much an ongoing effort in coordination with the Park Service. There's a plan that's being run right now or managed through the Lowell plan. We expect that plan will be, that feasibility study will be complete within the next month or two. We have a pretty good handle on, I'd say, the funding for the construction, although obviously nothing's guaranteed. We have a pretty good handle on that. The issue that we're working on now is really the operational costs and what that will run and how it will be funded. Obviously, we see a number of people or institutions that will play a major role in that, including the university, Middlesex Community College, the National Park, obviously. We also think that the city certainly is a player at the table and, looking at the operational aspects. But it's still very much alive. It just needs some more work to figure out how we can make it successful. We are expecting, by the way, to do some looking at some successful examples in some other communities, particularly communities that have a strong university presence, to see how they make that work.
May I ask a follow-up question? Thank you. If the university will be included in this, because my understanding is it will go up to their dorms, are they presenting a commitment of funds for the trolley, for the operation?
Again, that's all being looked at and,
Okay.
and how something like that would work.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are parcels 7, 8, 9, did you say, Hank?
8 and 9.
8 and 9. And you mentioned that it sounded like you don't have you're moving them to the front burner, but is there a timetable in terms of when you're expecting to begin the bridge and these other, the rehabs?
We're hoping to begin the support to the bridge as a final part of the Appleton Mills. So that's something that we're putting in place right now. As far as the design, we are still working through the design, and then as we complete the financing and get under construction for 110 Canal, which we hope will be this summer, this is our next project. But in terms of construction start, I would imagine it would be within the next 24 months.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Other comments? Maybe you could show us on the, you can't see it, Abby, but the overall site map where these various things are. Yeah. Okay. Okay, thanks.
I do, I'm sorry. Does that run behind Canal Place 3? Yes, okay, so connecting from the Jam to the downtown now, where would the connection be on the downtown side?
Okay, if I follow your question, we have, this is the new bridge coming across the extension of Rear Street. This is the new street we're putting in. The signature bridge I refer to between parcels 8 and 9 crosses the lower Pawtucket right here. Then it continues out and makes the connection to Dutton Street here at the Broadway intersection. Is that what you're referring to?
No, right at the signature canal, the signature bridge, right where it's crossing the canal there, Pawtucket Canal. There's no building. So 14, is that number 14?
14.
That doesn't exist.
That does not exist.
And so between, looks like there's 11, that's what I'm seeing, I'm sorry, 11 and 14. It'll be between 11 and 14 on the downtown side of the canal.
Yes.
And neither of those buildings exist at this moment.
Nothing exists except for Appleton and
Okay,
The
so
floating
it'll
market.
end up being in that vacant space on the Dutton side street of Canal 3.
Right.
Yes, okay.
All right, this may be for Adam, so maybe this leads in, but what's at 1, 2, and 4? Is that?
Parcel 1 is another parcel in the plan. Parcel 1, we anticipate as being developed in conjunction with the courthouse, and we're seeing that programmed as office space. That would be ancillary uses to the courthouse. 2 and 4, those are our signature parcels. We imagine those will likely be the final, close to the final build-out of the district, and those are programmed right now as residential.
Okay. Okay, other questions? Frank, Councilor Dakota?
Thank you. I have one more question. So it seems like there is a lot of office space here. In terms of best practice, what can we as a council and a city do to help you fill these spaces with vibrant businesses that will employ local employees?
The city so far has been excellent in referring potential tenants to us. One of the issues that we've run into with the Fortenberg building is just the vision, and bringing someone into that building as it is now is not attractive. It does not compete well with other potential buildings. But I think you're continuing to be proactive, again, talking with the university, talking with different companies that are interested in locating to Lowell will be helpful. I think us doing our part in trying to get this under construction will really help in that process. For future phases, I know it requires the disposition of the National Park Service parking lot lands to the city of Lowell. We cannot begin to market the Hamilton Canal District in a way we feel is appropriate. We have a strong desire to market it in a way that we can't right now because that disposition is still not settled. I know the National Park and the city are working towards that in terms of an active Congress. So we're going to be we're waiting patiently on that. But, I think you guys have been great to work with. The relationship with the Economic Development Office has been wonderful. So you guys are really doing what you can do. If you can get the Congress to act a little quicker.
Well, what's the impact on the marketing? I assume our local representative is fully supportive. It's the rest of the other 434 people?
Actually, I can address this a little bit. The issue is that a portion of what you see on that plan as buildings 14, 15, and 16 is currently owned by the federal government. It's the parking lots that serve the national park. And as I'm sure you can imagine, if you just look at it objectively, the idea of the National Park Service selling their property for development isn't exactly something, when you think about things like the Grand Canyon, that comes easily. So the big challenge is actually not yet Congress, but in fact it's internal to the National Park Service. The folks here really understand this, really appreciate this, and are real advocates for it at our national park. But they've had to be working a lot with the bureaucracy in the National Park Service in Washington, D.C. to convince them of language for legislation that will not be threatening to those who want to preserve Yosemite and places like that in perpetuity. And I think the good news is I think we have finally come to language that they're comfortable with. And in fact, about 2 weeks ago, the National Park Service in D.C. Submitted a letter to Senator Kerry's office in response to a request that we worked with Senator Kerry to make with proposed legislation. So now it's a matter of Senator Kerry and Congresswoman Tsongas, both of whom are fully supportive of this, working to find the appropriate vehicle in terms of another bill or something that's going through Congress that they can attach this to ultimately have it adopted. And what it essentially will do is provide the local national park with legislative authority to enter into land exchanges or exchanges of real property with either the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or any of its political subdivisions, one of which is the city of Lowell. And the expectation is that we will be able to work out an agreement with them to exchange some parking rights, presumably in the proposed parking garage that is number 14 on that plan, for the ability to develop on their parking lots. And hopefully that would be able to proceed. But I have I cannot give you any prediction as to how long it will take to move a bill through Congress, but it is now at that point.
Okay. Councilor Dakota.
Thank you. May I ask how much of this project hinges upon the approval of that sale?
Well, it's as I said, parcels 14, 15, and 16 sit all or in part on lands that are currently owned by the federal government. So those buildings can't proceed until this is secure. And I think what Trinity is saying is that they would like to be able to market the entire district as a new district, not just, an individual office building. And in order to do that, they have to have the confidence that they have site control over those in the same manner that they have site control over the other 11 acres that's being transferred under our current development agreement with them from the city. It doesn't preclude them, as obviously, as you can see, just from the work that's already underway out in the field, from proceeding with other properties within the district. It's the ability to market the district as a whole that is dependent on having that site control of the district as a whole.
And if I may, just buildings 15 and 16 are particularly important because those are programmed to be the major commercial buildings in the district. So they're right along Dutton, very places of it's a location of great prominence. And the 14 is a structured parking that obviously will be necessary for those projects, the national park, as well as some of the residential development.
Okay. And what's 11 again?
Residential.
Okay. Okay. Other questions from members of the council or the subcommittee? Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. We know it's been a very challenging economy. It's a very challenging environment to be going into capital markets, and so I think we've had very good success given the circumstances really in the worldwide economy and the whole lending environment. So we know you've had significant challenges, but we're very pleased to see the work in the Appleton Mills. I think, as long as that building stayed in the shape it was in, not much was ever going to happen here. So I think, the city really owes a debt of gratitude to Trinity for the work it's done there and putting a package there that'll work. And I know the council, DPD, and the manager have all been supportive of that, but it's really a credit to the work that you've done, and so we're appreciative of that, and we just want you to have more successes like that one. So
Thank you very much. Thank you and again, the City of Lowell has been an excellent partner in this. We bring your name up all the time as we go into other cities and talk about the relationship we've had with you and the support. So thank you for your help, and we look forward to the ribbon cutting.
okay. All right, so that does not conclude the meeting, though. We're going to hear about the public improvements and things that are underway that are a little bit more in the city control.
Sure. Concluding the meeting's fine, too, if you want, but we can move ahead. We just wanted to give you an update on some of the other aspects of the infrastructure work that's proceeding to support both the first phase of development that they were talking about and some of the subsequent properties. The board over here illustrates a series of projects that the city has had the pleasure of spending other people's money to develop. As I'm sure many of you know, the work to create a pedestrian connection from the Gallagher Terminal, oops, down here, up to the edge of the Hamilton Canal District is now in place. That was completed. There's a few punch list items left, but that was completed this past construction season. And in addition, I'm sure anyone who's driven around Lowell has realized that there have been some improvements made at the Lord Overpass in terms of the way the signals operate, some of the signal hardware, the lane designations, and it's certainly been my personal experience and certainly the opinion of our experts that traffic conditions have actually improved pretty significantly. In the long run, there will be some additional stages of development up there that will make it actually work even better, even as we add all of the impact of the development from the full build-out of the Hamilton Canal District. We have also just recently given notice to proceed to the contractor to complete a project that's represented by these blue dots here, which essentially is the construction of a permanent bridge over the Hamilton Canal District at what used to be known as Revere Street and is now Canal Street, which is going to be basically the front door into the district, as well as the canal walkway along Jackson Street, and the conversion of the entire length of Jackson Street from basically a industrial driveway, which is how it sort of feels today, to a multimodal street. And it's going to include attractive and comfortable sidewalks, street trees, lighting, landscape, historic lighting, landscaping, and so forth, as well as parallel parking that will really allow that to be the sort of entrance point to a mixed-use neighborhood, which is really where that's headed. That contractor is actually mobilized in the field now. They're doing some of the early demolition and setup work for that. It happens to be the same contractor who's currently working for the state to develop the canal side walkway right here along the edge of the Hamilton Canal, and also to turn the old railroad trestle that's located here into a pedestrian walkway as well. So this walkway system that today kind of dead ends right there is actually going to become linked to the street grid and linked to sort of more, it can be both a transportation and a recreational resource for all the residents of the city, particularly those in the downtown area, as well as the Hamilton Canal District. We've also been fortunate to receive some federal funding that will allow us to begin the development of the Point Park, as well as the canal walkways along the edges of the Point Park. A lot of the focus on canal walkways is because a lot of the funding is coming through the National Park Service, and they have some special pots of federal money they can use for things like that, and that's why we're able to do those types of projects. In the long run, not yet funded, but at about 25% design, is the extension of Jackson Street actually to meet Fletcher Street at a new four-way intersection with at-grade pedestrian crossings and the like right in this location, and what will actually begin to be really a central entrance for vehicles as well as pedestrians and others into the district. That's something that we have begun some conversations with our state and federal legislative delegations as well as other officials to hope to begin the process of trying to attract some funding for that. The court, which is right here, there was an article in the newspaper a couple of weeks ago about that project is seems to be very much on track. They will be doing the work that you've probably seen out there recently was environmental remediation work. They are now, the next step in their process is they're sort of putting the finishing touches on a contract that will do utility relocation. There's some major sewer lines and water lines across that property that are right in the path of where they want to put the building, and they're going to relocate those to where the roadways will be in the future. And then once they complete that, the next step after that will be design and construction. And they feel that they are on track in terms of their financing and their design and construction schedule for a building to be complete and open in 2015, which is basically where they have been for a while now. And it's, I think, a real testament to the commitment of the state, our delegation, as well as this Patrick administration to Lowell and to the Hamilton Canal District project, that they've been able to keep a frankly, very expensive state project on track in spite of some of the challenges that the state has in terms of their capital budgeting. So I think that's a very good thing for us. And as you heard from Trinity, their ability to move forward with the office building here at Parcel 1 is going to be tied directly to the market that's created by the trial court right there. So we're going to see some real benefit from that when that goes forward. The other work that we are doing right now, again using in this case the federal government's money, is some environmental remediation on parcels 8 and 9 that they were talking earlier about the future buildings there. We were fortunate, thanks to James' very good grant writing, to get some grants to be able to do the environmental cleanup on those properties in advance of that work. So things are very definitely moving ahead, really on sort of all fronts on this project. And it's if this were easy, it would have been done long before any of us got to it. But it does feel, even as we continue to move year after year on this project, there seems to be year after year of progress, and every challenge seems to be able to be overcome.
Okay. Adam, on the pedestrian connection from Gallagher, you get to the ramp that comes down to Dutton Street, and that's an existing roadway, no sidewalk. Does the courthouse, and I know you said over the railroad trestle there'll be a walkway, but does that link up with what you've done from Gallagher?
Well, right now we need them to build a courthouse in between, because
right.
Part of building the courthouse will be building a plaza around it that will be able to be the pedestrian link between where our walkway currently ends. You see the yellow dots are what's expected to be constructed as part of the court project to be that link. Ultimately, this link is the link all the way from the downtown to the train station through the Hamilton Canal District. It's just sort of being created in pieces. Currently, I think you were referring to this
Right.
off-ramp from the Lord Overpass. And the plan, the larger plan for improving the Lord Overpass in conjunction with extending Jackson Street actually alters this off-ramp so that it will have one lane that will feed right into Dutton Street, as is the case today, and it will have a second lane that will actually feed right into the Jackson Street extension, and it will also create a sidewalk along it as part of that as well. But again, that's something that the construction funding is not yet in place for.
Okay. Councilor Dakota?
Just look at me, and do I look like I have a question?
Yes, I thought you did.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The work is really spectacular. I appreciate that. And I've been getting emails about the South Common improvements. What role will those improvements play in this development?
Well, I think it's, I sort of see it as a symbiotic relationship. The South Common is a tremendous opportunity. It's a huge open space resource very close to the downtown. But the Jam area and the Hamilton Canal District, what is now the Hamilton Canal District, has historically been a bit of a barrier between the South Common and the downtown development that's occurred to date. I think as the Hamilton Canal comes forward, you'll have greater opportunity for connecting people, a larger population to the South Common to be users of the South Common. At the same time, we're looking to try to make some improvements to the South Common, and we're working in partnership with the State's Executive Office of Environmental Affairs. Currently, we're doing design work for basically a complete overhaul and renovation improvement of the South Common. We're going to be ultimately building it in phases. The first phase will be frankly, a very small piece, but a highly visible one, in that we're going to take the lighting treatment and street tree treatment that we've done along here as part of that walkway, and we're actually going to carry it up this way all the way to Highland Street. The next phase of the project, which that is funded, and we're hoping to do that this construction season. The next phase will be to basically take a look at this area of the park here and improve the basketball courts and the play structure and the play area in the park. The next phase after that would be to look at the soccer field and the area around the soccer field with a better track. And then the final phase will be to look at the area where the swimming pool is. There's the current conceptual plan that was developed in conjunction with the community last year anticipated actually converting the pool to a spray park, much like what was done up at Shed Park. Ultimately, as we move ahead with the design process, we'll get a better sense of what the ultimate best plan there is.
Okay. Other questions? Councilor Caulfield?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm compelled to say that with all these new economic developments and the improvements, the Hamilton Canal, the $175 million courthouse, the improvements to our parks, none of it would have happened, none of it, without the Lowell delegation, Representative Murphy, Nangle, Golden, and former Senator Panagiotakis. They deserve an awful lot of credit for carrying the ball and making it happen.
Thank you. Other questions or comments from members of the council? I think, Council, that those remarks are well taken. I think developers from Trinity know the role that the delegation played in putting in place a lot of the state legislation, the state funding for this, so we are appreciative of those efforts. Councilor Rita Mercier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do applaud the efforts that were put forth coming up the ramp on the side of the South Common. Beautifully done, extraordinary, because it is a gateway into the city. You have trees there, beautiful Victorian lights, and I don't want to dampen anybody's parade here, but at the corner of Summer and South, the globe is completely ripped off. I don't know how that happened, so we need to replace that. So I'm asking also as well, where did the funding monies come for that improvement?
The improvement, the pedestrian connection from the Gallagher Terminal to the Hamilton Canal District, a few years ago, the state created a competitive grant program for transit-oriented development. And at the time, George Proakis from our office wrote a successful grant to for that. And basically, the categories of of eligible projects were basically linking development opportunity sites to transit, and that was essentially exactly what this was. So it was a good fit there.
That's right. And having said that, I want to segue in this thought that a lot of progress does go out into the city, and it isn't so much as money coming from this source or that, but we hire people so that they're grant writers as well, like Mr. Erickson, and does the grant writing, because we have projects that require not so over-the-top beauty, but you take the ground remediation, and you have to clean that. It's not very attractive, but these are the things that go on in the background, and we need to have that done, and there's people like Mr. Erickson that get this grant money, so that in itself pays the price of having you here, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Broderick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight from Trinity and the administration, DPD, Adam and James, and thank you all for your hard work. I put the motion on. Probably throw it on again in another 6 months or so to get a status. I think as things develop, I think it's good for folks to realize what's going on down there, and the more activity, the better. And I think keeping people informed as to what's going on, and also for us to be informed in terms of anything we can do. Obviously, that's an open offer, and the administration can let us know whether it's a letter of support in terms of the national park, whatever might be helpful or necessary. But I think Councilor Caulfield made a point that, to thank the delegation, and I think it's been proven here that this is a huge team effort. The delegation, the state delegation, Congresswoman Tsongas, Trinity, the administration, the council in its role, and I think that the governor in his office, and just basically everybody deciding that this was a priority, working together, making it as smooth as possible in a ridiculously difficult economic climate. And I think that that Trinity should be commended for its progress and the way you put it together, and staying on target. And thank you again for coming up this way on a Tuesday night, and the administration and DPD for shepherding this through and continuing to see its successful progress and coming to fruition. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor. Just, if I could, one last question, or if there are other questions, we'll take those too. But this is, I know the efforts at DPD have been substantial here, but apart from those, there's not a great deal of city outlay and funds. Is that essentially true, or?
It is. As you may recall, the City Council did bond at the time. I think it was about $3.6 million, I believe, for the acquisition of the Freudenberg properties back in 2004. I think, with the exception, again, of staff salaries, that is actually the only true, sort of city resources that are in this project. Certainly the parking structure that was built with city funds will provide parking for some of this development, so there's some contribution there. But the vast majority of the investment has been, again, we've been very fortunate to have the project garner the support of both legislative and executive officials at the state level as well as the federal level, who have found that this to be a really appropriate project to channel a lot of their resources into. And it has aligned very well with a lot of the objectives of the state and federal governments, which is part of why it's able to attract funding as well. But we've been very fortunate to be able to have that alignment. And one thing that I think should be noted today as well is that there have literally been hundreds of construction jobs created by this project. And it's, I think, it is a testament to Trinity and a testament to everyone who's been involved in the project, that when the governor was trying to decide where to go on, literally the day before Election Day, he chose to come to the Appleton Mills, in part because there were over 100 people working as a direct result of the investment that the state had made in supporting that project. And I think in this economy, recognizing the number of people who've been put back to work, even if only for a construction project or a construction period on this project already, not to mention the future potential the project has to create permanent jobs through the spaces that will be developed here. That is, I think, paying off in spades in terms of the investment that people at all levels of government have been making.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Manager.
Just if I could echo some comments that Councilor Mercier and Councilor Broderick had mentioned. Certainly, I think we do owe a tremendous amount of gratitude to the delegation, the State House delegation, as well as Congresswoman Saugus and the administration, as Adam pointed out, has been very supportive. Secretary Bielecki, the governor himself have really gotten behind this project. It does meet their goals and objectives, and Lowell has a history of doing projects that work. And I would be remiss if I didn't echo, though, the comments that have been made regarding Adam, James, and the entire DPD staff. This is an extremely complex project in terms of its planning and its implementation, and it's really a credit to them that this project has moved forward in the way that it has, and the successful way that it has. And, and Trinity's been a tremendous partner, and we really made the right choice in going with Trinity. I think that you wouldn't normally see a project like this move forward in this tough economy, but they've been able to make it happen. But I really want to give a tremendous amount of credit to the DPD staff.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Anything further to come before the subcommittee? Okay, thank you all, and we appreciate all the effort to date, but there's plenty left to do, so we'll look forward to reports in the future. Thank you.